something wrong?
Nope.
Oh,
Once
okay.
I hit this go live right now.
Okay, just in other words, Catherine, be patient and be quiet. Gotcha.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, I think we have a winner. Hopefully everybody can hear us okay here on YouTube. If you do have any audio issues with YouTube, please make sure to let us know. Otherwise, we're going to go through this, and I want to welcome everyone who is in our chat room and everyone who has joined the call. We have Sophia is here, Catherine is here, William is here, and Crip Rick is joining us for the very first time here too. And we may have one or two other people kind of jumping in. Ross may jump on during his break, so he may come on at some point. And
already here, my guy. Already here.
Good. Right on, Ross. Very good to see you, man. Wasn't sure.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
Yes.
All right. The gang is all here then. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start. I don't know if anyone has their YouTube stream up right now, but again, if you notice any issues on YouTube, any sound quality issues, please make sure to let us know. We are recording this. We are live, so anything can happen here, and we'll just keep rocking and rolling as far as we can go. So we are going to discuss some more about who created a fake police document and why. And so this is presented by us, by the group, the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group. Many of the members here, everyone here is a member. And we're going to do a little roundtable discussion. And so we're going to be talking about the fraudulent document. And I was hoping that Sophia could kind of give us, everybody, there's probably a lot of people that have no idea what we're talking about, what this is. So maybe, Sophia, if you could give us just a little summary of why we're all here today.
This last Monday, I received an email, and you also did too. I just didn't know it at the time, from an Apple Valley city attorney, and I was confused by why I was receiving it. It had been a chaotic day already, and we were in the car, and I wasn't driving, by the way. And I'm like reading it, and I see, that she mentions, numerous FOIAs, FOIA requests, and I'm like, oh gosh, maybe they're just telling me to shut up already about this. Stop harassing them. And
thank you. Sorry about that. Oh man, I totally thought
I
cough button.
So
okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Then I downloaded the affidavit and totally gave up on reading the letter and was reading the affidavit, and I was like, wait, what? What just happened? Why? What? Somebody faked a document, and I was confused by everything. But the kids were yelling in the back seat, so that was just adding to everything. And by the time I got home, I was able to look at everything all together, and it's still it's the ECU paperwork. And then I realized it was also it's supposed to be an ECU memo or report that is on a website that came to our attention back in late July.
Mm-hmm.
And Greg, I can't remember the name of the website, but that paperwork had on there attention to Tommy. And at the very end, it was signed Shane. And it was one of the detectives from the ECU in Apple Valley who had done the electronics devices and had taken the information off of there. But this document stood out to me because it had personal opinions about this case. Yes, there was illicit drug use. We know this because it's right there in the journal. We know this because there's pot in the household. But what really caught my attention was near the bottom when they're talking about how who died when. Not once has anybody ever mentioned that in any of the police reports. Who died when? Except for, I mean, it's assumed that David died last because he supposedly killed himself. But, nobody has ever assumed that Kamel was first, then Ronnie, or that Ronnie was first and then Kamel. That was never even touched upon in any of the reports. And then, I lost my train of thought. So that really stood out to me. But there was nothing on the electronic devices to give this detective that information. So why was he even writing that in his report? So that really started sending off red flags to me. And I sent that to Steph in Apple Valley, who has been helping us with getting FOIA requests fulfilled. And I questioned this document, and I was like, why are they discussing the order of death when none of the other police officers had assumed this in the report? They had all been very, very professional. And I didn't hear back. But that's not unusual, because usually I will not hear back from Apple Valley until they're ready to give me information. So I was waiting and waiting, and in the meantime, I sent off a couple more FOIA requests for information on like CAD reports and other things like that. And then that's when I got the email from the attorney on Monday, and they were referring to that particular document that was on the website, and it was a fraudulent document. The detective never wrote that to Detective Tommy Booth. So, and that's what we're going to cover today in this roundtable discussion. And we believe we know exactly who created that document. And we have proof of that, screenshots of that. So we'll be showing that too.
Excellent.
But that's the backstory.
All right, so let's jump right into this then. I'm going to crash right into some of this stuff here. So again, this is what Sophia was talking about here. This is the page from crowleyfamilydeaths.neocities.org. This is where I saw it. This is where we all saw it, and you can see it was kind of troublesome because we didn't know, okay, what is the source of this? Now, I had mistakenly thought that this was the 5-page ECU report that we all got. That is not the case here. And so that's what we're going to look at. And talking about the source, it's right here on this website. Now, according to Tony Floyd, this page was obtained through Joe Tommaso at the Crowley case - fact versus fiction. As you can see, it clearly reads not for public release and was redacted from the copy of the full report I have provided below, which was obtained via a records request. This is more evidence of shady, less than legal methods to obtain these materials. So that's why I didn't really pay too much attention to this. I thought, okay, well, this is just the first page. And for whatever reason, this was, like he says, this was redacted. We now know that that is not the case at all. Fly away, little birdie. So what we're looking at right here is side by side. On the left-hand side, you see the fake police report, and on the left-hand side, you see the fake police report. On the right-hand side, you see the real police report. Now, note the similarities in that box there. Everything at the top is exactly the same. Exactly the same. So somebody would have taken just that top portion and then added everything where it says not for public release. They added all of that in there. All of that from Shane to Tommy. And like you just said, it kind of says, yeah, these are two. I mean, you can read the real one on the right hand side. That one is 5 pages. What we're seeing on the left hand side is not something that was redacted. This is something that was falsified. Somebody was posing as a police officer, posing as Detective Shane Klokanos, and wrote this and then spread this. And we know that that's what we know so far here. So those are the two ones. You can see those. You can go to Tony's website and find the one on the left-hand side. You can go to thegraystage.wordpress.com and you can read the full one. You can see how different they sound. Very, very different. One is accurate. One is a bunch of BS. Okay. Now we're going to read from the bottom up, by the way, here. So there was something that Joe Tommaso was trying to share with Tony. And Tony's like, what? What's up? And then Joe Tommaso says, and this is on June 4th, 2021, 1724, that they need to share something with you that was slipped to us. So Joe Tommaso here is talking to Tony Floyd, according to this document that we have received from Tony Floyd, that Joe Tommaso, something was slipped to them. And he says, I'm going to get it now. Tony says, all right, sure. Luis says, the journal stuff, what do you want to do with it? Joe Tommaso says, it confirms what you have. Let's read on. Joe Tommaso, reading in the upper left-hand corner of June 4th, 2021 at 1727. I got that with my ECU report. So here you have Joe Tommaso telling Tony Floyd that he got this image on the right-hand side. The image on the right-hand side is from Joe, apparently, taken from Joe and given to Tony. And it's that same falsified document. And here you have Joe Tommaso saying that he got it with my ECU report. We have the Apple Valley City attorney saying this is a falsified document. So there's no way that Joe Tommaso would have gotten this with his ECU report. So I hope that he goes and explains that to the Apple Valley City attorney where he got this from. Or if he created it, he needs to also let them know that too. Because there is this false fake document now floating out there that is confirmed to be fake. I don't know if Joe Tommaso actually created this, but if you read this right here, this is what he's saying. I got that with my ECU. And we know that there's no way that he could have gotten that unless he got it from somebody else, that if it was given to him. But that's not what he says here on June 4th. All right, let's pull back the curtains a little bit here. And if you haven't seen this by now, like Sophia was saying, we were both sent this at the exact same day, at the exact same time. And I was really confused by it because some of the stuff that we're going to look at here, especially that document, I had no idea about that document. I did not send them that document. But the response that we get here from Christine J. Caselius, and so I'm sure we've kind of gone through that here. We'll be talking more about that. I just want to kind of briefly kind of cover this. And so they go through all of the different data, what we can get, what we can't get, which is all good. All right, everything sounds kind of normal here. Nothing too strange there. And, they're very thorough in letting us know about who has requested data. People have requested data. These requests have come in. And, I was a little confused because they're talking about when people are not dead, which really has nothing to do with the case. We're really just talking about people that are dead here. So they just kind of go through that and they're very thorough about exactly what is going on. Everything sounds kind of normal, right? Nothing really stood out to me. They have this number 1. They talk about what that means when they say a person, a natural person. and the data. So they're very, very thorough. And it's just like, okay, we're expecting data, and we finally, because I was going to wait until October 1st to contact them and see, okay, we've put in these data requests. You guys said you don't know how long it's going to take. Is there any update? But they beat me to that punch. I wasn't expecting it to come from the city attorney, which was kind of weird. So I kind of thought that too. I kind of thought, well, okay, maybe they're just going to say, you guys got everything and we're not going to give you anything else, which that still may be true. That still may be true, that maybe they won't. Maybe they'll come back and say, hey, this is all that we're going to give you and that's it. Now, they're going to have some problems if they try that. So we'll see about that. But here's what they said. Let's see. Also, a document entitled, quote, examination report, which was allegedly written by AVPD Detective Shane Klakanos, was provided to the AVPD by one of the recent requesters. Thank you for bringing this absolutely false document to our attention. Enclosed, please find the affidavit by Detective Klakanos affirming this is a fraudulent document. And so it's like, okay, wait a minute. Are they talking about the whole 5-page thing? But no, they're just talking about that one page that says not for public release, that starts with Tommy, ends with Shane. That is a falsified document. That is the falsified document that we're talking about here. Moving on a little bit. Then we have Shane Klakanos, who has the actual affidavit. It's signed. This is all legal. You can clearly see this. I've seen a couple of these. So this one just looks good. And he just makes it clear, I did not do this. I have reviewed the attached document. Let's see, where is it? Prior to seeing this document during August 2021, according to Detective Shane Klakanos in the affidavit, I had never seen this document. So he didn't even know about this until August 2021, which a lot of us also didn't know about it. But we know that it was being passed around from Joe Tommaso to Tony Floyd, as far as we know, as far as the document that we've seen here. And Detective Shane Klakanos says, I am absolutely not the creator of that document. Further, I have reviewed the applicable case file maintained by the Apple Valley Police Department and did not locate this document. So that document was not even there. So who slipped it to Joe Tommaso, if that is what really happened? Or is he making it up? There is an answer. There is an answer, but he's the one who would know that. Now, the affidavit, if you don't know what this is, it's a verified statement or showing. In other words, it contains a verification, which means that it is made under oath on penalty of perjury. And this serves as evidence for its veracity and is required in court proceedings. That last part is very important. It is required in court proceedings. All right. Now, we also have some quotes here from Tony Floyd. And let's see what he says here. Fabricated documents. I will preface this by saying that I think these circumstances are ridiculous on the part of Joe Tommaso, Louise Gibson, and other vocal members of the Crowley case - fact versus fiction. I am writing this as they are continuing to lie and portray themselves as infallible after committing an extremely shady and potentially illegal offense. So here's what he says. I obtained David's Day One Journal via records request on June 4th, 2021. After quickly reviewing the document, I began sending screenshots of entries primarily pertaining to drug use to Louise Gibson and Joe Tommaso. That's where this started from. Okay, according to what Tony is saying here. While discussing the journal entries, I shared with them the sensitivity of the document and the potential of respectfully sharing portions of it. They approached me with something to show me. This was the something that was slipped to him. He says, I believe that they tried to pass this document off as a legitimate document because they wished to portray themselves as having the upper hand regarding information and of already being aware of what I was sending them, dictated by pride and insecurity. I specifically mentioned pride and insecurity as Joe Tommaso has an inflated ego, which he feeds by repeatedly reminding people of his qualifications when he is not the quote-unquote top dog, as someone would put it. This is notable and not just a smear, as this same pride later led him confronting me when I offered to share the item 05 black light report with them to assist them. So he's making it sound like, he shares this information with them and they act like they already have it. And then they have this extra paper that nobody has, including the police, because it's not a real document tied to this case. It's a falsified document. This confrontation consisted of him telling me that I should keep my files to myself, as I previously redacted non-public/private material from the Day One Journal before sending it to them, and that they would get these files themselves, as I lack credibility. Wow, where have we heard that one before? And would not share the original download links for files I received. To break all of this down, Tony continues, I will state that my copy of the Day One Journal was the original file without redaction. Contained within this file were many intimate portions and at least one photograph containing the nudity. I immediately informed ABPD of this in the event of future requests, as such material should not be public, nor should I have received it. For this reason, I sent Gibson and Tommaso a redacted copy of the Day One Journal. And we have that, Tony, it's also on Tony's website. It's also on my website, too, if you're looking for it. I believe it's in the group files, too. Regarding lacking credibility and being in the wrong for not sharing the original download links, I can see no concrete basis for either of these, especially the former. At any point, they could have requested a screenshot of the requested emails or the files, checksum, including in many of the emails to verify the files were not tampered with, but they did not. I was handing them dozens of new photos pertaining to the bodies, the Day One Journal, the backlight reports for item 0508, Vaughn report, etc. I assumed that they began falsifying documents, backpedaling, and turning me away as their only thing to bring to the table was the gun photo and very irrelevant documents such as the Crowleys' their mortgage. I do not say any of this to boast. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just another citizen, as we all are. And as is why being insecure about obtaining public records to the point of fabricating them to quote-unquote keep up or stay on top is ridiculous. Powerful stuff. So there on the on the left-hand side, kind of covered that. And looking at the stuff over on the right-hand side, you can see this is more of the conversation. Now, whereas the first one was June 4th on the left-hand side, it continues on through July 21st, 2021. And Luis Gibson, it's not that big of a deal, but we don't know what it is. We're waiting for stuff to come back. And when it does, we will go through it and release what we feel is acceptable and not disrespectful, but proves that whatever is in the report as being fact or present was indeed fact and present, and that David wasn't the David that he publicly presented. Talk about a clear bias. I mean, they're desperately hunting for this stuff here. Tony says...
And they were going to manipulate their group members to believing what they wanted them to believe.
Sure. Nothing new. Wow. Tony says, couldn't releasing things be detrimental because it could give the quote-unquote justice group things to request, not really speaking against it, just thinking out loud. And Joe Tommaso, about 24 minutes later, says, this is exactly why I refrained from commenting at Luis Gibson. Was not stating she would release stuff. She was saying she'd consider releasing. I have further requests in both officially and through the higher ups. I like the indirect calling of hypocrite, though. Okay. Not to sound like an asshole, but keep what you get. I don't need it. Besides the fact that I can only use stuff from other sources, from official sources, but he's not using stuff from official sources. There's a falsified document that is not from an official source. And who is he talking about with these quote-unquote higher-ups? Or is he just making all of this stuff up, as Tony says, to sound like something that he isn't? When I give stuff, it's in its entirety. Also, when I ask for things under my legal name and only my legal name. When I first got involved here, I was like, okay, we have someone getting stuff, sometimes the same, sometimes different, but with the same goal of stopping the harassment of individuals or innocent people, which is what they do to us, harassing individuals and innocent people. The hypocrisy here is just laughable. But redactions and screening, etc., whatever. I'm almost 60 years old and have experienced more things than a lot of individuals. Yeah, he feels very highly of himself, doesn't he? As for members of justice requesting stuff, that's been working really well for them, hasn't it? Take a good look at any FOIA law, state, federal, and if they can show you are using that info for improper purposes, request away because they do not have to give you anything. File a complaint and it will get laughed out of the hearing. Also, we have been working on stuff with the case for over 6 years and have never screwed anyone over. Yeah, right. Feel free to ask Judy or Sean, as I even went as far as to go legal on their and their family's behalf. What is said or shared here has stayed here to the extent that if there's something that would benefit anyone, including the family, it can't even be put out there. So exactly what good does that do? And Tony kind of echoes what I was thinking. What are you even talking about, is what Tony Floyd says. About 1 minute later, she said you would release what you feel is acceptable. And I didn't call anyone a hypocrite, even indirectly. Yeah, more of what are you talking about, dude? So then he says, this is ridiculous. I was trying to offer you, we're reading from down up. This is ridiculous. I was trying to offer you the file to make things easier for you. And now this? And 1 minute later, Joe Tommaso, as for the sexual stuff, it's not like it's getting put out there. I get you have morals, which is more than a lot that I can say for some people. Also realize that when I forwarded you what you sent me a copy of, I sent bulk. I scanned right then and there, which is why I didn't click and send. Also, there is a reason I do things the way I do. When I share things with Louise, for instance, I will usually forward her the emails and she can click the link and download from the source, not from me. This is also why when I post stuff in the group, I usually post something supporting this statement. It's not like he's really mad that he just, he's not being given everything so that he can act like he already has it. Tony at the bottom says, I didn't legally deserve the unredacted file, so nor do you, especially when it adds virtually nothing to a broader understanding of the case. For someone who boasts about legality and credibility, you falsified a police document. Boom. Right there. And then I think we included this to just kind of show, and Tony probably included this to just kind of show what this group, what these people are really doing. And here's what she says. They admit it. Joe is tampering with stuff. They're tampering with stuff. Now, you wouldn't do that if you're just looking for the truth, right? That doesn't make any sense. We found something about the Gun Plus store. We don't really know what it means, if anything, and we haven't gotten anything with the Celebrite. We're just sending the group into a spin. How are they sending us into a spin? I don't really understand that either, but whatever. And then here's another quote that she says, it all depends as to what you want to disclose. When you come up with multiple scenarios, most involving having to tell white lies, admitting they have no issues lying, playing games, or sending them on a wild goose chase, or coming up with the backstory to send them off of the scent. Well, I'm not sure exactly what scent they're talking about, but the scent that we're on is to find the truth. So if they're trying to send us off of that scent, that just further shows that they really don't care about this family. They really don't care about justice. They really don't care about truth. They really just care about creating fiction, telling fiction, and spreading fiction. And there it is. That is the full presentation. I want to hear everybody's thoughts here. Ross, I don't know if you're still with us. Hopefully you're still with us. I don't know if if your time is limited. Maybe we'll have you kind of go first, or else we'll go back through this, and I want to hear everybody's thoughts on this stuff. It's interesting stuff.
Yeah, I'm still here, brother.
All right. Well, this may be the first time, Ross, that you've kind of looked at some of this stuff, I'm guessing. What are your first thoughts on this? What do you think about somebody falsifying a police report?
Yeah, it's pretty insane, man. I know, you and I spoke about it a little bit about it previously, and I was trying to catch up on some of your recent posted videos on the Gray Stage channel, which I did. Quite an interesting development, I would say. It's rather confusing, but I think you guys did a good job of explaining it, even to someone who's catching up to speed on it myself. I'm driving, guys, so my bad on the little bit of wind in the background. And yeah, it's wild, man. I'd say it's kind of on par with the falsified check that we've seen earlier on in the case, or whatever you want to call it,
Sure.
deposit or the whole bank statement thing. But I'd say it's quite a bit worse, given that it's a police document. So, yeah. It's pretty odd. I mean, go ahead.
I was saying, any ideas why you think somebody would do that? Any thoughts on
that? I mean, nothing directly. I'd kind of have to deep dive it to come up with anything of substance. But certainly, my first thought would be, I think this definitely leads credence to a cover up. I mean, I can't think of any other reason. I don't know which way the rest of you guys are leaning on it.
Seems pretty desperate to me. That's all
I'd agree.
Well, let's get some other thoughts on this. Anyone else have any thoughts on this? Let's go. This is a round table, so let's go around the table. And let's start with Catherine.
To me, it's like it shows some serious balls. Anybody who would go to this extent to try to prove anything or even to make themselves look important, it's in my mind and in my opinion, it has to be one of two reasons. Either their ego is that big or they are absolute idiots. This is a huge crime. You don't go around faking a police document because now they're presenting themselves on paper as an officer. So not only are they falsifying a legal document, but they're pretending to be a police officer, which is a crime. And the fact that they admit that they do stuff to try to throw others, either our group or anyone else, off of quote unquote the scent is reprehensible. I mean, like you were saying, how is this being helpful to the family? How is this being helpful even to their point? It can't be. It's appalling. So I'll stop there for now.
All right, Crip Rick, what do you think about all of this?
I'm still catching up on a lot of it. I just recently learned about this a few days ago, so I'm playing catch up a little.
Sure.
But Catherine definitely answered my question in this. I'm just wondering how illegal it is to put out a report like this and pretending to be an officer. And I can't wrap my head around whoever did this, what their intentions are, or what they're hoping to gain from it. There's so much evidence out there and information that I would assume that they're going to know that groups like ours are going to pick through this and eventually pick it up. And so I'm really struggling with, I don't understand what their intentions are behind this. To me, there's no benefit for what they're doing in the long run. It just, if anything, it's going to make everything look worse for them in the long run.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that doesn't sound like I'm hoping that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I just don't see the benefit. That's where I'm struggling with. I don't, like, maybe it's like Catherine said, they're trying to get popular. Maybe they're trying to get some clout out of this, but it's definitely not the type of clout that I'd be going for or popularity I'd be looking for, falsifying a document. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, it seems like the it's like the what Sean Wright did, where it was kind of like they have this secret knowledge that they can't share with us yet, right? That's what he was telling us from day one. Yeah, we have the fact, we know that David Crowley is guilty. Can't share it with you yet, but if you guys just stop talking about it and stop questioning it, then one day we'll be able to share it with you. And this kind of falls in line, for me, it falls in that same type of pattern, that it's just the secret stuff that only certain people can know. And if you go along with this theory that David Crowley is guilty, then they kind of, make it seem like maybe one day they'll be able to share some of this stuff, and it will never come. This stuff never comes because there is no evidence, there is nothing to prove David Crowley guilty. So William, what do you
so I missed out on Ross's what he was saying because my internet completely cut out. I don't know if you guys saw. I dropped out a call, didn't mean to or anything, but yeah, that dropped. So also for my Twitch stream, which that's what happened. Sorry, I feel pretty much the same way. I also noticed Sean was being brought up in this conversation with Joe and Luis and Tony. So that I found a little disturbing. So Sean's obviously got to be in this inner circle here, which once again, I mean, I just streamed about this. Yeah, this guy is he's known for his narrative control. He wants to go and really control the narrative, and I feel like that's really what's going on here. Is they're just trying to get this narrative pushed, and they just want the narrative there, and that's it. And anything else is, it's wrong. But we know for a fact, the narrative is wrong. So why are they still pushing for this? Why is it so crucial to push the narrative when we know it's wrong? Yeah, I don't understand. And then on top of that, this whole falsifying thing, there's nothing good to go and gain from this. Once we've found out, it's basically over. You guys already emailed it out to, or rather, Sophia emailed it out to Steph, and this is all, it's going to unfold for him. It's just going to go and fall apart. And I think there's definitely some illegal activity going on here, but what's going to happen is kind of up in there. I don't know. Just hopefully the city attorney looks into it. Hopefully the AVP decides they want to go do something about that. I do apologize for that part. But yeah, that's basically how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, because at some point,
I was going to say earlier that this particular document, it hurts the surviving family members. Right. It hurts the friends because it's talking personal details that nobody supposedly knows. Because anyway, it's reprehensible.
It is.
That somebody would do that.
Well, we can see from the other document too that it's also not, when it comes to these documents, there's no opinion on here. It's nothing. There's no bias. This is just fact, right? We got to see this from the other internal document that we know that's how this operates. So that just further clarifies this is fake. Not to mention we got the affidavit of this as well, of him admitting this is fake. That wasn't him. So. The thing is, it's weird the fact that they thought this would pass.
Well, and I think what bothers me the most is, out of all the documents that I've read in this case, I've always kind of held Detective K, and I don't know what else. I'm not being rude. I just don't know how to pronounce his last name. But I've always held him to a higher regard because of how professional he has always been. He has always just stated what, like you were stating, it's a fact. It's just a fact. And here on the left, it is pure supposition. It looks like it's character slamming. So it's making this detective look like he's a petty individual who's just trying to, undermine the case and somebody that they're investigating to another fellow officer. It makes him look like a kind of a disgusting human, but we know that's not who he is. And so when an officer has to go to the length of signing an affidavit and stating, I didn't do this, that means he's taking his character very seriously, because it's like they're assassinating or attempting to assassinate this detective's character. And to me, that is just another step in such a very bad direction.
Right. Well, another thing I want to just note is I just noticed this too. This initially says to detectives Tommy Booth and Brian Bone, right? Well, we know that's on both of them like that. However, what we do see is it's only to Tommy. Why is it only to Tommy? Why? It does make sense. Further, just adding to this. So, but even then, we also see, what does Shane do? He handles just the electronics. That's his expertise. That's where he's going to be handling. Why does he have any say in this? He wouldn't be even saying anything about this. There's no reason for it.
Great point.
And that's what was raising the red flags.
And when and I'm sorry, Sophia, but when Detective K, again, I'm sorry, I really need to find out how to say his name, but when he states in his final report that they could find nothing in the devices that would prove a motivation or what led to this event to have occurred, but then in this falsified one, they have it saying, we believe the actual incident occurred on either the 24th or 25th, and I'm paraphrasing, and that the substances as well as sleep deprivation contributed. Right. So now they're embellishing, and they're making this basically is trying to void out everything he actually stated in his original document.
Right.
Yep.
You know,
I guess that
what
just follows the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, what I would like to know is, other than the detective saying, this wasn't me, I didn't do this report, is what is their policy on people falsifying documents and then it being released publicly, which it is now. You would think that type of thing would warrant investigation. If this was the Kurt Cobain case or any other case with any kind of visibility, Greg, you think there'd be like a very rapid and swift response to this type of thing. That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Well, is it possible? Because this was a question that one of our other group members had brought up. That is it possible that Joe Tommaso really did receive this, and we know that that Detective Shane Klokanos did not create it. Is it possible maybe another officer created it? Are we open to that?
No.
Why not?
Because it states that the report is prepared by Detective Shane K. And then it's written, and then it's to Tommy Booth and Brian Bone. It's addressed to Tommy. It is signed Shane. Everything there is to lead the reader that this is from the Detective K. Now, there is no other Shane on this entire case that I could find.
Right.
And so to assume that this could have been by somebody else, no, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, I'm going to go back to the letter. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And just reading the letter by the Apple Valley City attorney, thank you for bringing this quote-unquote absolutely false document to our attention. So by them saying it's absolutely false document, that kind of what they're saying, and it would be nice to have them clarify this, but it sounds like what they're saying is that this is, this is a falsified document. It's not created by the Apple Valley Police or anyone associated with the Apple Valley Police. Is that the way you guys read it?
Yeah, the detective went through all of his reports, and this is supposedly coming from his department. And right. It says he went through the reports and he found nothing there, and he's saying I didn't do it, and it's not in our case files.
There it is.
Right.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Yeah, not in the case file sounds like it didn't come from anyone else. But again, let's say they got the name wrong. Again, is that the type of thing that warrants a public statement of, okay, it's written as this, but it actually came from this other person? You think it would be like a relatively quick response.
Yeah, well, they were quick to have the detective sign this on September 20th, just a couple days ago, and mail it out or send it out to Sophia and to myself at the same time. Even though I had nothing, I did not send them this. They still sent me the exact same response that they sent her. So it sounds like they're taking this very, very seriously. So yeah, I don't know. It's just curious to see. I didn't expect them to go this far with it, and I'm just wondering if they're doing that because it may lead to some other legal issues, maybe.
Quick question.
Oh,
So
yeah,
definitely.
I figure I might as well get this one out of the way. So, Sophia, when you sent it out, did you request that going to both you and Greg, or did they do this on their own?
No, I had no idea that they even sent it to Greg.
I'm curious. Why would they do that then? That's my question.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. And Greg didn't even know that I had sent the email to Steph. I wasn't going to say anything until I got a response. And, I had sent a couple other FOIAs out that I didn't tell Greg about either. And I wasn't going to say anything until I got something back. And then usually Greg will follow up with asking for the same exact thing. And maybe that's why, because
that makes
he was
sense.
requesting the same stuff that I had been requesting after I received information. I don't know. It's very confusing why he received it, but he did too.
Yeah.
So do you know why you received that, Greg?
I don't know why I received that. I'm glad that I did. The only thing that I can think of is pretty much what Sophia said is, it wasn't word for word what I asked for, but definitely, they know, they've dealt with both of us, so they know we're asking for these same things. They didn't have to send. It's more of a courtesy on their part. And so that's really cool. I'm really glad that they did that. And it's also because they also say, where is it? A document entitled Examination Report, which was allegedly written by AVPD Detective Shane Klakonos, was provided to the AVPD by one of the recent requesters. So it's not saying was provided by me. And I think, Sophia, they don't say, this was, by, when they say one of the recent requesters, your document also says that too, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
everything is exactly the same.
It's exactly the same, yeah. And then they say, thank you for bringing this absolutely false document to our attention. It's like, so that, it's like, well, I didn't, but okay.
Right.
So it's more of a, it's a template because everything is exactly the same except for who they sent it to. That's really it. And that's why they're very, and this could also be, if somebody else were to send them that same document, you'd probably get this same thing here, this same template. That's my guess.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense. So it just has that thank you statement, but it doesn't have any explanation of like you're getting it sent to you for this reason, other than it was requested.
Pretty much, yeah. Just I'm getting it because one of the recent requesters had sent it to them, and then they thank me for that, but really they're thanking whoever sent it to them. And I thank whoever sent it to them too. And up until probably the beginning of this show, I didn't know that it was Sophia who had sent it to them. And there's no reason for me to need to know that. And like I said, I'm glad that the sender came forward and did that. But, again, to me, it's not that big of a deal who sent it, but
no.
This document, this information that we have here is great. And this is another great reason why people should be sending things to them. Because you may get a professional, responsible response like this, which is what we want from our cops, from our police, from our law enforcement. What they did here is an A++.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
Above and beyond. Go ahead.
I gotta wonder. I don't know if this is jumping to conclusions, but given this is such a fishy scenario, I gotta wonder if this is somehow related to what Greg mentioned in the recent video post on the channel. Your current, most recent witness that came out about the Chris Klein vehicle driving back and forth in front of the Crowley house before entering on that night, it's starting to paint a picture that, some of this stuff could be possibly related.
Interesting. I never thought of that. Yeah, maybe.
Good point.
Maybe. And I do hope to cover some more of that stuff too, because there is some more from that new source that we have here too.
Definitely want to hear that. But on that note, I got to jet, guys. I'm about to go into a very loud room, so you wouldn't want to hear me anyway. But
thanks, Ross.
will.
Ross, tell us. Tell us where people can catch all of your stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I'm on Twitter under my name, Ross PXF, and then YouTube.com/PlanetXFilmworks. That's where me and Greg are on there with the 2 script deep dives, both versions now, 2013 and 2014 of the Gray State, I guess, unreleased, unfinished scripts, whatever you call it. I think pretty much we're the only ones on there covering that. So check that out. Hope to be back with you guys soon.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, guys. Good show.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, we covered a lot here. Maybe we can kind of look through some of these messages here. But anybody have any thoughts while I pull up some of this stuff here from Tony Floyd?
No, you're good. You're good. Well, I mean, I do want to just say one thing real quick. We did cover the scripts on my stream as well. Just saying.
Okay, but that was on Twitch, right? On Twitch.
Yeah, it was on Twitch. Yeah, so it's already long gone. So.
Okay. Get those up on YouTube.
I did not get the downloads on those, as they were quite large.
Well, we'll have to do that over again. It sounds like.
Oh no, it's all good.
There's so much to go through, and it's so great to have everybody here. Everybody here on this call has really helped so much, and we look forward to that too. And we know Crip Rick. We know that you're starting a podcast. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I just started it. It's something I've been working on, planning for the last couple of years to do, and I just very overwhelming to learn all the OBS and different stuff I needed to learn to actually make it possible. But I did start one on YouTube.
Nice.
And it is called Crypt Rick. Well, actually, Crypt Rick's I've Been Thinking. And I will be, as of today, I'm going to be posting my first episode and first interview that I've ever done, and that was with Catherine, who's on with us right now, and it was an amazing interview. She's an amazing guest to have on. It's I've been wanting to interview her for a couple years now, because I've basically been following her channel, and I really want to get her thoughts on this case, and because I know her, and along with a lot of other people, have put a lot of work into this, and so it was an amazing interview, and I hope everyone checks it out. And I just want to, on my personal note, I just want to say that the deeper I get into this case, I've been really going deep for the last about month, and it's so disturbing. I mean, I can't imagine what that family went through. I've never actually lost sleep over stuff like this, and I actually am losing sleep over it, because it's so upsetting, and I just cannot get my head around with all the evidence that we and other people have came up with, that the police can't even take the time to just open it up and have another look, because I don't want to see David's name always having this attached to it, because I myself fully believe that he's innocent, and I'd like to see his name cleared. That's just what I would like to see.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen to that. Well, I hope that you post the show that you did with Catherine. Make sure you post that into the group, and we'll try to spread that out there too.
Great. Yep, and like I said, I'll be uploading it today. As soon as we're done here, I'm going to be uploading it, and yeah, if you guys want to share it around and help me get a few views on it, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And right here, Rick, you have lots. I mean, you have Greg, Sophia, William. I mean, and then Dan Hennon when he comes back. You have so many people to interview that'll give you so much great information. So thank you again. Thank you for doing this for David and his family.
Thank you for having me. I mean, it's at least I feel like I'm not doing enough, and it's very disturbing. like I said, the deeper you go into it, it just keeps going into it deeper and deeper. It just seems like it never ends. You're just going into a deeper hole, and it's really disturbing. It's, for me, it's very disturbing.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
And
Well,
I
I mean,
think that's. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, I do that to everybody. Go ahead.
It's all good. I do it too, so I totally get you. So, I mean, the thing is just be careful when looking at this case too. Is there's a ton of rabbit holes, and you can easily just go down one of those, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa! But this and it changes everything sometimes about the case, just kind of like how you look at it. But in all honesty, I mean, we know he's innocent. Just got to remember a few things here. We know the bullet holes don't line up. We know that. The amount of damage that was done, that doesn't really even add up. The lack of blood, rather. I mean, that doesn't add up. Nothing in this case adds up.
Yeah.
So really, anything that strays away from the narrative might actually be something that's useful because the narrative's completely wrong. So.
I agree. And as I was laughing, when I did the interview with Catherine, we were joking that this poor dog, Paleo, he's like Super Dog. He's basically been accused of doing everything but pulling the trigger, and I'm surprised they haven't tried to link that to it.
Right. At this point.
Yeah, and for me, it's like, and I've heard this reported from other people. I've heard this reported from people who've worked within law enforcement, but I have seen it in other realms, like the medical field and even in regular business, that if they come upon something, and sometimes it's just easier to say, hey, let's just say this happened because holy cow. And that's kind of how it feels like this is. I'm still not convinced that at the beginning that the AVPD did this out of malice. My true feeling is they were overwhelmed. I think right now they backpedal and they don't want to say anything because they would have to say, well, we kind of just said, hey, let's pick something and stick with it. And because look how long it's taken all of us, 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's been, 6 years, 6.5 years for this family. And we've all just been, delving in, and we're still finding stuff. And police don't have that luxury. They kind of have a real huge time constraint. And so, but at the same time, I feel that they should be able to say, okay, at this time, this is what we thought, this is what we were dealing with, but now here's where we are, and we may have to step back. But I don't know why that's so difficult, and I think that's what's frustrating.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Chief Reitziegel, didn't he also say this case is closed and it's not going to be open again?
Yes, that is what Detective Gummert said to me, speaking on behalf of the chief. And I specifically asked him, I said, what if we hand you solid evidence that proves David is innocent? And he flat out said, it's online. You can hear it for yourself. Or he says, it doesn't matter. It's closed. We're not going to reopen it. We don't care what you give us.
Wow.
And that right there tells you that this case was never based on facts, but based on something else.
Right.
And what's most disturbing, Catherine, I know the interview that, if you're speaking of the one that's on your channel, I actually just listened to that video a few days ago. And during that whole interview, as I pointed out in our interview, he never straightly answers one of your questions with a yes or no. It's always a deflect on
Correct.
Everything you ask him. I've never seen anything like that, where every question he's just deflecting. There's no yes or no answer.
Correct. And I'm glad that you caught that, because I asked questions specifically in that way because, as you and I were talking about it, it was very noticeable and you could pick it up right away what was really happening. And, and again, I credit my base knowledge now on my past employers. When I worked not only as an EMT, but I also was a legal secretary for a few years, and I worked for some they weren't good attorneys. Let's just say they were criminals, but still, they taught me how to do stuff, how to research. And one of my very first jobs when I was still in high school was working for the Governor's Office of Planning and Research when Ridiculous Brown was in for the first time. So I had some jobs that really taught me how to approach things, in how to question, how to search. And when you hear a response, what does that response really tell you? And it's sad, because on one hand you understand that that's their job and that's what they're taught, and on the other hand it's like, come on guys, people are a little more knowledgeable these days than what they used to be, and we kind of know what you're doing.
Right. Well, that's the thing is, I mean, they screwed up big time, especially when asking specific questions that there should be a yes or no to, and they
Yes.
can't even do that. Like, I'll be honest, I haven't watched that one yet, so I do plan on doing that. So,
And I definitely, preface this every time, because here in Colorado, the law is only one person on the conversation has to know it's being recorded, and it is legal. Doesn't matter if it's a police department, it could be the FBI, it could be anybody, but as long, and I knew. And so, and the reason why, and this is what I told Rick too, and the reason why I recorded this was because of the ridiculous fiasco that happened with Kelly. Now, I had someone with me with Dr. Kelly, and so, and I still believe that their so-called text, going back and forth saying where Dr. Kelly threw me under the bus, I believe that was all fabricated as well. It doesn't even sound like the Dr. Kelly I spoke with at the ME's office, but that's neither here nor there. But it was very legal, and I didn't break any laws, and I did not have to tell him that I was recording. The only thing I would have had to legally have done is if he had said, if you're recording this, don't record it, then I would have had to have turned it off. Mm-hmm. And right. Anything after that, I would have been breaking law, but that never happened.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is, I mean, we know that this group has done some little shady stuff, like, I mean, posting something like, for instance, like a text message, something about like it was something like along the lines like win wear ombre or something like this. It doesn't say who it's from, it doesn't say who it's to, it doesn't say anything, and they're just posting this, and once again, that doesn't give you anything solid proof. Once again, that doesn't sound like the Dr. Kelly with that message or whatever. So it's like I said, there's a lot of things going into this that, once again, these people that are looking at this, they could find themselves in a heap of trouble if they, once again, are found to be falsifying documents here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That particular information was also sent to Apple Valley to be verified.
Which one?
The text message.
The text, oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yes. Hell yes. Thank you.
And the photo with the gun in it.
Yes.
Yes.
That's awesome. Well, because I mean,
just waiting to,
I'm sorry, but that photo, I took down my video on the gun, because as of right now, and that's why I made the other one saying, hey, I made a mistake. But if it turns out that we really didn't make a mistake and that truly is a fake photo, I'm putting those back up, and I'll take down the other apology video.
Well, I mean, I can assure you this. I mean, I can tell you right now it's not a fake. That one is not faked.
Okay.
Absolutely, that one's not. Because once again, we can see that, once again, you can go through the video and I believe you see it in there as well. So
well, it'll be good to have them confirm.
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
it is, and that's really, and that's really our focus here.
It'll solidify things even further.
Yeah, to have them do it, and like we have here with this thing, we need more of this type of stuff. We need more of these statements where they're like, hey, no, we didn't do this, and we're swearing to it. So it's I'd like to see some more of that. And maybe it's just because, we haven't been pressing them, or, we're not reaching out to them as much as maybe we should have. I know that I haven't reached out to them as much as I wanted to, as much as I have hoped to. And, and that's why it is a group effort. Right. And it looks like that's what Tony was trying to do with these people. He was trying to make it a group effort. He was sharing things he didn't have to share with them.
Well, this Tony person, whoever they are, I mean, they do appear to have made the general effort to not only do that, but also just trying to, regardless of them believing the opposite side, thinking that, he's guilty, it's still the whole thing that this person's trying to gather the actual evidence to prove this, and went through legal means and all this. So, I mean, they're on the right side of things, I would say, for that, that they're doing things legally, but I mean, obviously we know that that's, you know, he's innocent, so.
And he tried to do right by David and Kamel by redacting the things, and
Right.
it was the ungratefulness of Joe and Louise
Right.
demanding. And then so they were like, no, we don't want what you have to offer us. We're going to get it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
They wanted to be the gatekeepers.
yeah. And, you know, it's like we got the information from Apple Valley also around that same exact time, and it was redacted. Well, most of it was.
Yeah, and I think you did too, Sophia, but I knew as soon as I saw that, you know, I could read through it, and it took me, I'm telling you, it just sent me into such shock, like, holy cow, I did not need to read this. That the next day, I wrote them, I think it was Steph, I wrote Steph an email, and I said, hey, you know, I'm taking a lot of crap from people because I'm saying you don't need to read. None of us needed to read that, but it's still visible. So you might want to know, because people are going to come for you because they just want to read the titillation. And that's a paraphrasing, but you know, to get angry at Tony because he doesn't want to put out there something so personal. Forget the fact that he was willing to give them the information that they felt they wanted, minus the personal information. That wasn't good enough. No, they were focusing on just that. And then they're going to get angry with Tony because Tony's like, no, I didn't need to read that. You don't need to read that. It's mind-boggling.
So I do got to go here in a second, but I want to add one thing real quick. So the thing is, I do think some of the personal stuff in there, I think it could have been edited out a bit, but to show that there was that level of intimacy still, and it was obviously a mutual thing, at least it appears to be, based from David's journal and everything. You know, that's a healthier relationship. We can see this. Well, why the hell would he kill his wife then? You know, once again, I mean, I'm not trying to say that, an unhealthy relationship go kill your wife. No, I'm not saying that at all. But you know, it's the whole thing. We can see there's a healthy relationship when they're trying to say that the narrative is, oh no, they didn't really have a healthy relationship. They had a very healthy relationship. She was very supportive of him.
And I hear you. However, a lot of, and this is my opinion, but a lot of what he does cover and how he talks about how he's supporting Kamel when she decided she was going to quit her job, and how he supported her when she was arguing with her family, as people do. And I'm not saying that's good, bad, or indifferent. We all argue with our families, but he was supporting her. And that is very indicative of a very good relationship. And not saying they were perfect. Oh my gosh, nobody's perfect.
Bingo.
Yeah.
That's the good thing here is, and that's why I'm saying, I mean, it could have been edited out a bit, but I mean, to leave that in there, you can see that they're in a healthy, I would argue, rather healthy relationship. Things were getting better. You could see this gradually for David and Renee especially. Things were getting much better at a decent pace, especially towards the end. Everything was just going, it seemed like everything was wonderful.
Yes.
But we also got to see directly in there that we're seeing family being cut out. It was planned. They're going to cut their families up because, well, they just didn't want them. For whatever reason, either they don't want them around because they're toxic. They're trying to break free of, basically having those types of toxic people in their life. We're not really sure exactly what all of it is that led to the full separation, why they're trying to go get away from entirely. But we do know that they were actively trying to get themselves away from all that. And we know throughout the journal, too, how many of these people that were supposed to be David's friends are actually considered to be friends by David. Most of them were.
None,
Yep.
yeah. Other than Mitch, I think he really thought highly of Mitch Heil, but the rest, nope.
Yeah, I think he really did too. Up until, once again, the only thing I have to add to that is, once again, Mitch did say he wouldn't let him inside. And all this, he was obviously trying to distance himself from him too, but I think he was just kind of trying to go and keep an eye on everybody to see how they all react. And Mitch didn't react like the rest of them did. You had Seaton, who was just like, it was good making music with you, David, or whatever, but it's goodbye, or whatever. And just like, David was like, that's cool. I was trying to do that anyways. So he was like, get the memo, buddy. And then you got Danny August Mason, which you can see he clearly didn't like the guy at all. He saw him as shady. And that's what I'm hoping to go and fully uncover with the phone records too. Is once we can see directly where he really stops talking to Danny August Mason, because they're talking pretty frequently. Adam Shambor and David, they talk pretty frequently. Once again, where did this dip off and where did it return? Was it one-sided in the end? Things like this. I want to have all the answers there for everybody to see. But these are the things that, once again, we can see this. He was trying to get a lot of his friends out there. Now, the one thing I do want to mention, though, is Mason Hendricks is not even mentioned at all in the journal.
Right.
And I mean, for this guy being one of, a good friend of David's, why isn't he mentioned? He mentions the rest of them. Chris Klein wasn't really mentioned. Obviously, he wasn't a great friend. He was probably an acquaintance. The thing is, that's what I'm saying. It's the friendships, really. How many did he actually have in the end? I don't think he had many. I think he was keeping everybody on the outs because he didn't know who to trust. He didn't know where all this was coming from, and I think he felt a lot of people were trying to betray him. Once again, the reason he mentions the Garden of Gethsemane, it's the same reason. He's he feels like he was going to be betrayed, and once again, we know not 100% for a fact, per se, with proof, but we do know that it does. We know the crime scene doesn't add up, and it does not look like a double homicide and then a suicide. It looks more like a triple homicide.
Yep.
So I would argue, does appear there could have easily been betrayal, because who else has motive to do this? Who else? I would love to hear. I would love to have a debate with anybody on who wants to tell me who has more motive than some of these other guys right here. Once again, not making an accusation. I'm just saying they have, there's more motive there, because there is like potential financial loss. There is,
prison time, arguments with family. Yep.
Right. There's a lot of different things, but once again, I can't make the accusations. I don't have any proof. All we know is there's pure speculation. So I got to bounce, guys. So thank you guys for having me.
Thanks,
Will.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, of course.
All right.
I will.
Until next time, there goes William Rail. Catch him on Twitch. He does a lot of live shows, strange investigations. Make sure that you check him out there. Crip Rick, since we have you here, have you gone through the Day One Journal, David's Day One Journal? Have you looked at any of that stuff?
Yes, I have, and I've been watching the videos on the Gray Stage on YouTube. I've been watching that too, and I find his journals, to me, those journals are just amazing, because it's really giving you a look into what David was thinking at that time, on those days that he was writing them. And I have to agree with Will when he was saying that you can really see, at least for me, from what I've read and I've seen so far, David was really, he was on a spiritual journey, in my opinion. He was searching, and you could see that he was searching, and he was also very human and struggling. I could tell with being a father at first, he really didn't, he couldn't grasp being a father. At least that's what I could tell. He was having a hard time with it. But as the journal goes on, you can really see him where he just kind of has an aha moment, where it just seems, at least from what I read, that it seems like everything was starting to click with him, as like what his role was as a father, as a supporting husband, and also with that, also trying to manage this big project, the Gray State, and all of these people around him. I really think that, like, I don't know what these people, I don't know what to call them. Like, for me, I think he felt like they were almost like a vulture or something. They were there to just pick at him, and from what the journals tell, I can understand, is that that's what he was kind of, I think he kind of cut himself off from everybody to see who he could, who he needed, who he could trust, and who he could have a true friendship with. I think there was a lot of people pulling at him, and it was weighing on him. That's what I could tell so far.
Yeah.
We haven't heard from Sophia about what your thoughts are. Sorry, Sophia, I didn't mean to exclude you in that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts just pretty much on everything here that we've covered.
Well, I just know that I have questions in regards to whatever supposed information or new information that that group receives. So from now on, anything that they post is being sent directly to Apple Valley to be verified.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really disappointed that somebody had to fake that document.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we have so much information when it comes to this case. And to see them sit there and discuss how they're lying to people and manipulating the evidence and picking and choosing what they're going to post, that's extremely dishonest. It's not only dishonest to your members, but dishonest to everybody. Just if you have a document, you post the whole thing, just like we do.
Right.
Because we don't want to hide information from our group members. The only thing that we were doing with the Day One Journal was just redacting what Apple Valley should have done correctly the first time. And
yeah, we're just making.
That was the only reason why it didn't go up immediately. But we had the searches go up. We had the ECU report that eventually went up. And it's like we don't hide our information from our group members. So anyway, I'm just annoyed. There's no reason to be faking information. It's so juvenile.
Yep.
And underhanded. Whoever that group, I'm speaking directly to those members and anybody who looks at that group. If you believe anything that they say from now on, you're idiots. Because they are manipulating you to believe what they want you to believe. And they are manipulating the evidence and they're lying to you. So you need to get your own documents, send your own FOIAs, and get it directly from Apple Valley if you want to learn the truth about this case. Until then, if you continue to follow these people, follow them blindly, then I have no hope for you. You guys will never find the truth.
So, Sophia, what do you think about the fact that Tony posted and sent you the text messages back and forth between him and them, where they're saying, "Oh yeah, we make things up and we do this to send them off the scent." What was your thought when you saw that?
I was shocked, but Tony and I, he first came to me. You sent him my way, and he asked for the journal, my copy of the journal that I received from Apple Valley, and I sent it directly to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't hear another word until this week after I posted the information about the affidavit. And he asked to see some more information, and he asked me a couple questions, and I answered them, and I sent him the information. There was no hesitance on my part.
Mm-hmm.
And in return, I was like, do you have proof? Because on his website, it says that it was Joe who gave it to him. And I was like, do you have any text message proof that I can send to Apple Valley to back up their investigation? And he sent it to me within a few hours, and I forwarded it on to the detective on the case. I still need to send it to the attorney, though.
Yeah, excellent.
And so, and I've asked him a few questions, and he's asked me well, he asked me to see he asked for the letter from the attorney. And so I sent him the one from Greg and the one from mine, I think. But I sent him the whole thing and told him I've been open to listening to him and sharing what he asks, and he sends me information that I ask for, and it's been very symbiotic. Is that the right word to use?
Yeah.
He has nothing to hide, so there's that. He just wants the truth, and he was rather disappointed in the other group when he found out that that document was actually falsified. And he was very supportive in the fact that we are all working together to get to the truth and to help Apple Valley in finding the perpetrator who did this. So that's why he's been extremely helpful.
Yeah, and I think wasn't it William that just said too that, and that's the one thing I have to agree that, especially where Tony is concerned, is that even though he believes David is guilty, this person still is saying, hey, let's still share. We have different viewpoints, but let's be open and honest with what we get. And I think that's how it should always be.
He treats me like a human. I treat him like a human, and we are able to work together.
Yeah.
He knows exactly where I stand on this case, and I know exactly where he stands because he's made it very, very clear.
Uh-huh.
And we continue to work together. We have a relationship that way. And that's great.
Yeah.
So, but all we want is just the truth. And not shady behavior.
Seems fair. Seems fair to ask for that. I mean,
I'm extremely grateful to Tony.
Me too.
If it hadn't been for him, we wouldn't have discovered any of this.
Right.
So hopefully we can find out from Apple Valley exactly what's going to happen next. And for those who are saying that we made this all up and that we are lying and that, feel free to contact Apple Valley. Feel free to go down there and show them that document. They'll tell you themselves. I'm extremely grateful.
Yeah, you can call them.
And on top of that, you guys need to ask Joe T. some serious flipping questions.
Yeah. Yeah, you can call
because
him right
if
here.
he didn't create it, then whoever gave it to him did.
Yeah, and that's what's troublesome about what these messages are saying, where he says that he got this. First he says it was quote unquote slipped to him. Then he says that he got this with the ECU report. So which one was it? Was it slipped to you, or did you get it from the data request? But either way, it shouldn't be too hard for this lawyer here to also say, hey, no, we didn't slip anybody anything, and this is not part of any data request. And that's pretty much what they're saying here in legal terms here.
Right.
So it sounds like they're taking this very, very seriously. The more I read this, it's just like, wow, yeah, they're not kidding around here.
No, they're not. It's a very legal and a very professional email. They're quoting state statutes, and they're getting an affidavit in there, and then you have. And here's the thing: Joe Tomaso cannot backtrack now. It's in black and white. The conversation. This, or I got this in my ECU or with my ECU report. With the ECU report. So he's saying he got it from the police department. So he's flat out lying. He's saying that the police did this. So I want to see him how to this is going to be fun.
That's what I thought too. Once I realized exactly what I was reading, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be fun to watch unfold."
Uh-huh.
But yeah, if anybody has doubts, pick up the phone, call Apple Valley, discuss that document with them, or go on down yourself instead of sitting there in a Facebook group being keyboard warriors.
Yeah,
That's
sounds like
pretty lazy.
you can call Christine J. Caselius 952-953-8813 and ask them, is this a real document here? I know what she's going to tell you, but if you have any doubts, I don't know why you would, but if you have any doubts, go for it. It's all right there, people.
Yep.
It's all right there.
But yeah, Catherine, I think that you're right. I think that they did fake the information from Dr. Kelly. I think they faked the text message. And I mean, it's my personal opinion. Others can disagree that they faked the photo with the gun. I mean, that they added the bodies, but they created that photo altogether. But
Yeah,
we'll find out because everything was sent to the detective to help verify.
Yeah, and I
So,
can't wait to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
So, well, I also had sent everything that Tony had sent me as proof of the chain of custody for that document.
Nice.
So that should be interesting to see how that plays out too.
Yeah, and if it hasn't been sent to the attorney, that's probably the better place to send it to. Just kind of, throw my two cents in there.
Yeah, because once they bring an attorney on board, nothing is handled by that particular person or department. It has to go through the attorney's office. And so, I mean, and the fact that they actually hired the city attorney to answer for that, that tells me they're taking this really serious.
Right.
So.
That's good. Good stuff. Let me see here. Any other thoughts here? I'm going to pull up some of this conversation. I think what Tony is saying here is really some of these messages. Some of the stuff that he's talking about, but it's just like, man, why don't these people get their own documents and just do their own research? What's wrong with that? But it's all about hiding it, and they even make it clear here. It's like, we'll decide what we feel is acceptable. And it's like you don't get to decide that. I mean, if it's stuff that is legally obtained, then anybody should be able to legally obtain it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of the problem with some of the stuff that is on Tony's website. And it's like, wait a minute, where did this stuff come from? Why aren't we getting this? And like they said, they're still looking at stuff to release to us. So hint, hint, to the Apple Valley City Attorney, there are things that we are still waiting for that I hope that we get, because they're out there. So, I mean, that's kind of that's where I'm at, kind of waiting for it to see, okay, what else are we going to get? Or are they going to say, no, that's pretty much it? Well, then where's all this other stuff coming from? Is this legal stuff? Is this leak stuff? Is this stuff that was slipped to people? I mean, there's just a lot of problems there. And even the stuff that was slipped to people, even the stuff that was, that is out there, none of it proves David Crowley guilty. So it is kind of secondary. That's why it's not like that too important. It is troublesome, to think that we're not all getting the same data, which is why we filed the same data request to make sure that we are getting the same data. And for the most part, I think that's happened. We put in requests years ago, and so why is this Day Journal 1 now just coming up. It sounds like, from what Tony is saying, he just got it too, which I didn't know that until reading some of the stuff here too. Is he just got it on June 4th, 2021. So, and then we get it a couple months later. But why didn't we get this years ago? And again, I'm happy that we have it. So that's also, it's not that big of a deal. I'm glad that we all have it now. But were there some legal things? Was there, why didn't we have this a long time ago when all these people were making films, were writing news reports about this stuff? It's all stuff that would have probably helped to just more evidence to show that David Crowley is not guilty. And it's one of the main reasons why we stay on this case for so many years, because it seems like the more that we stay on it, the more information we get. So who knows, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows what type of data. Maybe some data will turn up later too. But I'm very, very happy with all of the data that we have. And, all of it, again, shows exactly what we've been saying here for many, many years. That there's nothing to show David Crowley guilty. And that really is what it all comes down to. It really is just about, okay, line it up. What proves him guilty against what proves that he didn't do this? And that's it. That's where everybody should start and should finish, I think.
And let the evidence guide you and not your opinion is
That's
what
right.
I think.
Oh, yeah, very
Which is
true.
hard,
Absolutely
which
correct.
is very hard for me because as I keep saying, it's very disturbing. And I just have a question, Catherine. I meant to ask it in our interview. I hope you don't mind if I ask it now, because I do know you have a medical background. So I remember when I watched a few videos on little Rania, and her arm was basically taken right out of socket, correct?
Yes.
Right. There is no way that a dog paleo size could do that at any point, correct? Like, I'm not sure. I don't know how tough people's joints are and for pulling them out of socket and stuff like that. Do you think there's any way that the dog could have done that at any point, or is it? Because in my opinion, he couldn't drag it. He couldn't have enough force to pop her arm out of socket without dragging her all over the room, kind of thing. Like,
I mean, right. And okay, to answer your question, if a body has been decomposing and it's getting to the skeletonization portion, which is advanced decomp, when the skeleton, everything starts coming off and now the skeleton is coming around. Yeah, a dog could do that. But this little girl was, I don't mean to sound rude and crude, so I don't want anybody to misquote me, but this was a quote unquote fresh death. So within a few days, no, there's no way. I don't even know of a dog that could rip that arm out without, like you said, dragging her all over. It would be so evident. There would be claw marks, scratch marks, everything on the skin. It's just not going to come up, grab an arm, and then just walk away and it pops out. That's not how it works. It is solid. Your ligaments and your tendons and everything hold your bones to your muscles and your muscles to your muscles. And that's a really strong bind, and it doesn't just pop out. No, there's just no way, absolutely no way that little dog could have done that.
That's what I figured. Because I thought, like, if this dog did happen to do this, he, like as you said, the body would have been dragged all around the room. It just wouldn't have just popped out. Kind of thing. That's what I'm trying to. Yeah, that's what I figured. I just wanted to clarify, like, get some clarification on that.
Yeah, and then, to fracture her third rib under her arm, that little dog couldn't do that either. So, this was definitely an intentional injury to that little baby. So
I just can't, with all the evidence showing that David is innocent, I don't know what it's going to take the Apple Valley police to ever open the case, because, I mean, to me, there's so much warranting at them to open it again, just from everything that you guys have found out and what I've researched. you can basically throw a dart and hit all the inconsistencies, and it's enough to, in my opinion, at least to open up the case for a second look. And they just seem to have dug their heels in and don't want to budge.
Right.
It's a very odd case. It really is.
But and I hear you, and that's like, I've said all along, I came to this case thinking that he really probably was guilty. I'm like, he probably was. So let me just read this, and then as soon as you start reading stuff, you're like, wait a second, nope, not, wait, and then you're like, oh, holy cow, this is a total mess. Mm-hmm. And then when I saw that, and for me, it's like all of us, I think we all have our smoking gun. And for me, the smoking gun for sure was seeing that piece of the scalp with the straight line edges of the skin that's still attached to the scalp with the multiple blunt force trauma indentations. Now, there's no way a dog could make straight cuts, straight lines on a skin. It's impossible. No way a human could do that. So that had to have been intentionally removed with something that would create a straight line. Mm-hmm. And a dead person can't do that to themselves. So who did it? And so for me, that was my smoking gun.
Right. Yeah.
So, Kriprick, how did you come about this case, and how did you kind of start taking a deeper dive into this?
Well, I basically I started following actually David Crowley on his YouTube channel when he was actually doing little updates and that, when he was actually doing filming for the Gray State. And then I was keeping track of that because it's a subject that I've these subjects that he was talking about, like all of the different elements that were going into his movie, is something I've been researching for years, been very interested in. And so it definitely caught my eye from the start. So that's how I kind of found it, stumbled upon it on YouTube. And then as everyone knows, the murders happened, supposed murders and suicide and stuff. And then, which really disturbed me because I just never, I can't see him being that way. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying I can't see that. So I definitely was looking for anybody that was kind of looking into to kind of explain I wanted somebody to kind of explain to me what they knew and what was going on. And that's how I came upon Catherine's channel, what I found amazing because she broke down everything so easy to follow and just went with the evidence. There was never an opinion, which is what I like about it. I'd like to, you don't want to have your opinion on what happened. You want to let the evidence follow you. So that's how I stumbled into this case. And as I said, as I got deeper and deeper into it, which I'm still doing, it just gets more upsetting. I've never had a case like this that upsets me like this because I just think that whoever did this, it was so brutal. To do this to any family it's so violent and brutal. And I'm thinking they must have been trying to make some kind of put a message. They wanted a message out there or something. But yeah, that's how I came upon the Gray State. I was watching uploads from David Crowley and following him and stuff like that. And then as this happened, I kind of, like I said, reached out, trying to find different channels that would kind of break down the evidence and that. And that's how I found Catherine.
Nice.
She makes it very, very easy. And then as well as your channel, I've, lots of other channels, but as the first person to find it was Catherine's channel that got me started on looking into what happened and stuff, and all the different pieces of evidence that pointed away from David doing this. It was just very extremely interesting to me, and let the evidence take you. That's what I like about the videos that I've been watching. They just let the evidence do the talking.
Yep, that's what I like about Catherine too.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think she has a whole playlist on her YouTube channel. So if anyone hasn't looked at Catherine's channel yet, it's Catherine, and then last name Michele, 1L, and it'll pop right up. And you can watch all of her videos that she's done on this case and on other topics too. But yeah, I think there's some excellent stuff there, and it's so awesome to always hear how people kind of come to this case and what they brought into this case. And I was definitely a person who kind of started out with a clear bias, thinking that, like Catherine said, this guy's probably guilty. It's probably nothing, and take a look, and it shouldn't be too hard to figure out, especially since the police, within a couple of days, were saying that David was guilty. And for me, it was when when I started getting contacts, when I started getting phone calls from these Gray State goons, that it really started. I could really see, okay, there's something really strange here. There was a whole group of people who were allegedly David Crowley's friends and supporters and blah 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 and all this stuff, and they were going to have a big powwow, and they were going to make sure that we all got to the bottom of this. And then that got scratched quickly, and so that was another strange thing that happened really early on. And Dan Hinnon tells that story very, very well. And so that was another thing. I was like, wow. And then it just got weirder and weirder and weirder. And it's like, wait a minute, why is it getting so weird when it should just be, hey guys, David, this is why David did it. And we never got that answer. 6 years later, 7 years later, almost, no one's been able to really give that answer at all. And of course, it didn't matter if anybody else was, if Sean Wright wasn't able to. That's not a big thing. The guy, is not the brightest guy. But the fact that the police couldn't give that answer, that's when it became very, very clear that, okay, yeah, there's something else going on here. And again, it's not to say that all police are, all the same. There's definitely multiple layers, multiple levels of this whole thing. And it just seems like at the very top of the AVPD, the case got shut down, and the officers underneath were pretty much told, this is how it is. This is what we're going with, and that's it. And so that's not right either. That's not fair to this family. It's not fair to this case. It's not fair to the truth. It's not fair to our soldiers. Because sometimes people forget or they don't understand David Crowley was a soldier that served this country. So there are special circumstances to it. There will be a little more effort put into this case because of that. From my point, there's other cases that are similar. But this case is a little bit different because of the respect that I have for our soldiers. Whether I agree with whatever their views are, whether I agree with the trailer that David made, which I don't, none of that really matters. But it's like, wow, this guy fought for our country. He served our country. He died. He would have died for this country. Maybe he actually did die for this country. I don't know. But it just seems like he deserves better from the law enforcement. I don't care what the families say. I don't care what they think. I care about what the facts say. I care about that. And that's what it all comes down to. In the end, that's what really matters. People can have their own thoughts and have their own views and think that there was a pack theory between David and Kamel and create these wild theories. But we have to remember that this all started with the theory that David Crowley was guilty. That's where this started from. So if we're going to start there, and here we are 7 years later, no one can create any fact. They can't add any facts to why David Crowley is guilty. So they're falsifying documents, playing games, spreading quote unquote white lies, leading people on false trails. I mean, that says a lot about those people. And it also just raises more questions, because now it's like, okay, for all the people who really think that David Crowley is guilty and do want to sincerely find out the truth, what does it say to those people? How do they support a theory like that when it's based on so many lies and the propaganda and the games? And that's why I think a lot of those people are going to start turning, if they want to, and if they don't, that's their choice. We live in we live in the greatest country here. And so you have that freedom. You have those rights to believe whatever you want. But to slander a dead man and just want to believe that he's guilty and to go to such lengths, and to not be able to provide any evidence that he's guilty just pretty much shows you everything that you need to know here. So that's my final rant. I don't know if anyone has any final words here, or closing statements, closing arguments for now, but that's all I got. There's the...
No, I really don't. I just want to thank everybody for listening and tuning in today. I hope that we answered everybody's questions. And, watch who you follow, please.
Mm-hmm. That's good advice. It really is.
Thank you.
Catherine, any final words here?
My internet, I don't know what they're doing with it, but yeah, they keep shutting it down. But yeah, I'm finally back. Are you guys wrapping it up?
She's back.
So, okay, are you just closing it down now?
Yeah, we're just trying to see if you have anything. I mean, I said I pretty much have ranted, and I have nothing else. But I mean, please feel free if you have.
No, I'm with you guys. I think I said all I needed to say, and now I need to go back and listen so I can hear what Rick had to say because it booted me. But yeah, like everybody else, I'm just grateful to people who are willing to look into the case, and welcome aboard, Rick. And we all look forward to hearing what you find in your viewpoint on things, and I hope people now see that, falsifying documents can get you into trouble. And I'm sorry, Rick, I didn't mean to cut you off. Again, I'm notorious for that.
No, that's fine. But no,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out in the end.
Yeah, it's just more to show that, we're on the right side, we're on the right track, and if you want to focus on the facts, you've came to the right group here. That's our focus. That's going to continue to be our focus, and that's where we started, and that's how we're going to pretty much end up here. Someday, I do believe, as I've stated for years, I do believe the case will be reopened. Based on some of these simple facts here, that within 24 hours of finding the bodies, the Apple Valley Police Department were treating this incident as a double murder-suicide. The authorities cannot prove David wrote Allahu Akbar in his wife's blood on the living room wall. Authorities cannot prove David wrote I have loved you all with all of my heart on a laptop in the kitchen. Authorities cannot prove David wrote Open the Rise most recent version, submit to Allah now on a notepad in his office bedroom. Authorities cannot prove the dog trapped inside the house ate David's right hand, both of Kamel's hands, and their daughter's right arm, since dog feces tests were never conducted. Authorities did not see the bullet hole in the living room ceiling or the bullet in the attic above until they questioned David's friend a month after finding the bodies. Authorities did not find a motive to support their accusations against David Crowley. Authorities did not find David's blood on any of the bullets at the crime scene. Authorities do not know when David, Kamel, and Rania Crowley died. What we know for sure is that David Crowley has not been proven guilty. Therefore, he is innocent.
That was amazing. That was said so well. Oh, wow.
Thank you, my friend. Appreciate
it really
that,
was.
Rick.
It really was. That is amazing.
Thank you. I look forward, Rick, to having you back on here. We like doing these roundtable talks, and hopefully we'll be able to get you back on and have you on here.
I would love that, and I would also like to put an invitation out to anybody that if they would like to do an interview with me for my podcast, you're more than welcome. You can just send me an email at cryptricktattoos@yahoo.ca. And so it's CRYPTRICKTATTOOS @yahoo.ca. And I would love to do an interview with any of you. I would love to be to join in all these discussions because I'm very passionate about this. And I want to see David's name cleared. And I think it'd be great to do some interviews and explore this a lot further.
Awesome. I look forward to that. And we'll be back here on October 1st. We'll be releasing the next podcast. And Crip Rick, I don't know if you've looked at Tom Leiden's news reports. Those are going to be some of the next podcast shows that we're going to talk about here.
Okay, perfect.
And then we're going to get into Detective Gummert and the 21 questions. So maybe we can have you back on when we talk about Gummert. And if you want to join in our podcast, we would love to have you part of that too.
Thank you so much. That would be amazing.
Awesome. All right, good peeps. Well, for now, we'll go ahead and shut this one down. I want to thank you all. Thank everybody for watching, for listening, for all of your help, for all of your patience, and for just trying to get to the truth here, to figure out what really happened. We know what didn't happen. We know what can't be proven. And so, therefore, we can only go with what the documents say, what the facts say. So steer clear from the fiction, and thank you all for joining us here to discuss the facts. That I will go ahead and shut this one